Having laid the groundwork with Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, Toho immediately went ahead and began work on a direct sequel, finally breaking the pattern of standalone films that had defined the Millennium series up to that point. The return of director Masaaki Tezuka and his creative team ensured that the next film would feel like a natural continuation of what came before, and in much the same way that the last film was a direct sequel to the 1954 film, it was decided to make the follow-up a direct sequel to the original Mothra, and thus the stage was set for an epic three-way showdown between Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, and Mothra in Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. A year after its battle with Godzilla, Kiryu is repaired and modified, ready to protect Japan against the King of the Monsters should he come ashore once again. Things take a dramatic turn when the Shobijin appear, pleading for Godzilla's bones to be returned to the sea, and promising that Mothra will fight Godzilla in Kiryu's place. Japan is frozen with indecision until Godzilla attacks Tokyo, and when an outmatched Mothra arrives to hold him off, it's up to Kiryu to even the odds and fight against its biological brother one final time. For better or worse, Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. is a true sequel to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, carrying on everything that made that film work while retaining the same recipe that keeps it from excelling. This is as straightforward a Godzilla movie as they come, with focus on fast-paced action and spectacle, and a bare-bones plot and characters to hold it all together. And while this certainly makes for some thrilling monster brawls, it feels a bit derivative, a feeling that's amplified by a weak story that exists merely to showcase the special effects. What stands out the most about Tokyo S.O.S. is its explicit connection to the original Mothra. For fans, this will no doubt be a pleasant surprise, but sadly the film does very little with it beyond mere setup. The central conflict of the film, which sees Mothra and the Shobijin pleading for the skeleton of the original Godzilla to be laid to rest, has so much dramatic potential to be mined and themes to be explored, but the film never attempts to, instead using it as a bookend for a fight that takes up nearly half of the runtime. Make no mistake, it's a good fight, but had these interesting ideas been developed and integrated into the story better, it could have been so much more. It's fortunate then that on their own, everything with the monsters is great. Tokyo S.O.S. sports some of the franchise's best action scenes and special effects. Mothra in particular looks better than she ever has before, looking very much like the classic Mothra but updated slightly and made more beautiful with more fluid and lifelike movements. Kiryu and Godzilla remain unchanged, though Kiryu does have some new tricks up its sleeve. The battle between the three iconic kaiju is well shot and choreographed and contains some great moments, but it does suffer from major pacing issues. Since the battle begins halfway through the film, it drags in certain places, grinding to a halt when Kiryu needs repairs, and all that's left is the two twin Mothra larvae to hold Godzilla off. It's very reminiscent of the original Mothra vs. Godzilla, showing once again how Tokyo S.O.S. relies on the past instead of coming up with anything original. The characters are even more straightforward than those of the last film, containing only the barest of motivations to push them through the plot. Yumiko Shaku returns briefly to reprise her role as Akane, but is quickly written out of the movie to make way for a new group of characters. The new lead is Noboru Kaneko as Yoshito Chujo, a mechanic with a deep affection for Mechagodzilla. Kaneko is alright in the role, but the character is too underwritten to make any sort of lasting impression. The most interesting thing about him is his relation to a classic character from the past. Hiroshi Koizumi returns to play his uncle, Dr. Shinichi Chujo from the original Mothra, and it is wonderful to see him back, even if he exists merely as an expositional device. The Shobijin return as well, this time played by Masami Nagasawa and Chihiro Atsuka, and while it's always a joy to see the twins and hear a new rendition of the Mothra song, their role within the plot is very surface level, only appearing to either give dire warning or aid the protagonist. Also making a welcomed return is composer Michiru Oshima, whose musical compositions are still on point. Her Godzilla and Mechagodzilla themes continue to get your blood pumping, and this time they are accompanied by her new theme for Mothra, which feels distinctly different than previous themes while still retaining the feminine feel and essence of the character. Her music is a feast for the ears, and together with the consistently good special effects and impactful sound design, gives the film and its predecessor a tone unlike any other film in the franchise, one that makes up for many of their shortcomings. Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. is as bare bones as a Godzilla movie as you can get. Its plot is absurdly simple, existing merely to provide some context for the monster fights that makes up the majority of the film. The action is good, some of the franchise's best in fact, but with so little else to support it, you grow weary as it goes along. It's a passably entertaining movie that is sure to give you your giant monster fix and little else. For more reviews and opinions on all things Godzilla, subscribe and stay tuned to Up From the Depths.